CEO Ryan Smith, Qualtrics CEO and co-founder Ryan Smith, on this edition of, we're calling these Silicon Slopes Lives, Ryan, during this time. It's good to have you on. We've been talking back and forth since all of this began. I want to go a little bit on your past couple of weeks. You canceled X4, which must have been extremely hard. The lineup you had to come to X4 was unbelievable, like an unprecedented lineup for any tech conference I've ever seen in my life. So to cancel that is crazy. And the logistics of canceling that is just like, that just doesn't happen. You don't cancel when you have that lineup, right? And so that's how, I think that may have been one of the first times here in Utah locally that people thought, oh, this is serious. This is a big deal if Ryan's going to cancel X4. And then you had early office closures, all these different things. Take me back. What's the past couple of weeks been like?
Yeah. So first thing, look, I appreciate everything that you guys are doing from the Silicon Slopes side. I think community is very theoretical until you need it. And it's been unbelievable. We have such an unbelievable community here in Utah. I truly, truly believe there's no place like this. And every single person's a part of it, whether you think you might not be or you think you are. Like, we're all together in this. And so I just hope everyone's being safe and everyone is safe, and we can get through this together, and we will get through it together. So thanks, Clint, for keeping us up. So look, it's been gnarly. This is unprecedented. I think if I go back to some of the toughest decisions I've had to make as a CEO, and reality is a CEO, I think my job's to make 2 or 3 hard decisions a year and try to do it in the most humane way. But that's, if I could go back over the last 17 years since we started, that's really been how I would summarize it. And I'll tell you, 2.5, 3 weeks ago, that was probably 2 weeks ago, that was probably one of the hardest decisions I've had to make, because the data wasn't showing with X4 in Utah what it was with maybe some of the other events of people I've talked to, where, they had a base of 3,000 attendees in San Francisco, and maybe, 50 were canceling a day. And so they were starting to see the trends. We had 16,000 people coming. We didn't have one main stage speaker cancel, including Michelle Obama, who was calling saying, "I'm in if you're in," and people were registering. But what we were watching, and fortunately we have a large presence in Seattle. And what we were watching in Seattle, and that was our first office closure, was starting to get pretty hairy. And we took the assumption that it's going to move this way. And I think that we were correct. We were correct, watching Seattle and New York and some of these other locations, saying, if this happens or it's coming this way, and why wouldn't it? This is real. And I think a lot of people are reading the news trying to justify and trying to say, hey, what's the best case scenario? We just always operated that we're probably going to assume the worst and hope for the best. And both of those decisions, from shutting down the office and our summit and just postponing it, it's been right. I mean, I was sitting in meetings working with our team late at night last week, and one of the team members said, "Hey, hold on, I've got to go, pick Michelle Obama up, or I've got to go do this." And we thought, wow, how crazy would it be to be hosting an event right now? There's no way this would have happened. So look, I think for the safety of Utah, for the safety of bringing that many people in, it just, the upside's great, but it doesn't outweigh people's safety and people's helps, and not only from Utah, but our employee base.
Speaking of your large presence in Seattle, I'm wearing a Sonics jersey, hoping that you'll bring the Sonics back there when all of this is over, my friend.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
You have an interesting and true global perspective on all of this, with your coming together with SAP, and, SAP is a global company. Give us the global perspective on how this is affecting everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the phone, hours and hours and hours with the executive team of SAP and CEO. We're working through how to respond at a global scale. And I think Utah's probably one of the safest places we're seeing right now. And I think it's really important that we keep it that way. But if you look at what's happening over in Europe, I mean, we have offices in Italy, we have offices in France, we have offices in London, we have offices in Dublin. And this is real. This is absolutely real. And I think that the impact, the safety, I mean, we've had employees who have had relatives who have died and not been able to be there or get back to them in countries. So I think that it's scary times, it's unprecedented times, but we just need to hang in there and band together because we're going to need to get through it, and we need to get through it quickly. And I think people a little bit, especially with some of the younger generation, maybe aren't underestimate or aren't realizing why. Because the quicker we get through this, the quicker we bounce back. If you look at every major recession or every major economic crisis that we've had, when we hit bottom, we bounce back quickly. If we get to a point where this drags on and it drips, it's just going to take longer for the economy and everything we know to bounce back. And I think it's really important that if that reason alone is the reason why we're protecting ourselves and being safe, it's worth it.
You and Qualtrics have put out some really interesting data around working from home, and I believe you even published it on Forbes recently. Can you go a little bit more in depth for everybody watching and listening to this, both live and after we put it out once we're done, on like this data from working from home and how this is going to affect everything?
Yeah, I think we, when we sent everyone home, I think there was no way to prepare. We underestimated the impact, and I think every CEO did. It's pretty shocking. I mean, I'm working out of my closet here, and then you add 5 kids in the mix and school and everything else. Everyone's under a lot of stress. So, we decided that we need to create something for ourselves to be able to pulse our employees. And the first thing to ask is, are you okay? I mean, are you good? Is everyone good? And this isn't a one-time ask. This is something that every organization needs to be doing every week or every couple days with the fluidity of the situation. The second thing is, do you have what you need? And what would make it so that you're okay? And that's both personally and professionally. I think that a lot of the stress that's coming on is because people aren't prepared. We found on the work side, it's fine. Go take your monitors, take your chairs, take everything home. It's okay. Grab a couple bags of chips, whatever you need, like go. And set up an environment where you feel like, and lastly, you feel like you can be productive. If we lock everyone up for 30 days and people don't feel productive, that's not going to end well for anyone. It's not going to end well for our community, for the economy, and for people's mental health. People need to feel productive. And so we've created this assessment. We got all the data back and we were like, dang, why can't we share this for the world? So all of our engineers got together and we created the ultimate hackathon. We created a solution where any organization can go in and pull this out and implement it. We have 3,400 organizations already that have licensed it, and it's about ready to be used throughout all of SAP and shared with all of SAP 270,000 customers. And we're finding that organizations are using this as the compass to drive. I found out quickly I wasn't communicating enough as CEO. Although I thought I was communicating way too much and no one wanted to hear from me, and that was reassuring. We found out that people were extremely stressed out. So the more directive we could be about expectations that people needed during this time was important. We found out that the social isolation piece of this is real and it's creeping up on people. So we started, just like everyone else you're seeing around the internet, is like, what can we do to have all hands through Zoom and make people, feel like there's a little bit more contact that are there. And when we really, started figuring out what is working, what are the tips that people could do. So the first tip that we saw was, being able to create a designated workspace. And what could we do to help people create a designated workspace? People needed a flexible schedule, but we found that just having everyone create a to-do list for the day, whatever that would be, was so basic but so helpful. And the feedback came back on that very positive. That if everyone prepared for their day as if they were going into work, there was a stress relief there. Then, which seems counterintuitive to having everything being sponsored by Lululemon, right? where everyone's hanging out in their lounge gear. So this is the data that we're seeing. It's available for everyone. Just go to Qualtrics, here to help, and we're going to take out some ads. We're doing this because we can, and we own the platform that can do this. So it's our responsibility. An interesting thing is, since we did this, we've evolved to be able to create one for teachers who can actually reach out to students, and healthcare. We've been working with a couple of the major hospitals in the world, and just getting a pulse of the medical workers right now is incredibly valuable. One hospital is using this as their compass for how they're managing everything within their workforce and rotations. We also launched something similar for governments to be able to track COVID-19, to understand what they need to do and the size and scale of this. We've got 15 countries where their health systems are going to be using this entirely to be able to gauge how large the problem is within their countries. So with SAP's help, I mean, this is the benefit of being part of a global stable company, is we can start to do these kinds of things, and we just want to share and help. And I think that's our calling right now, and our ability.
And for those CEOs and organizations, leading companies, leading, nonprofits, the principals, superintendents, all those people who are watching this, they just go to Qualtrics.com. The tool's called Employee Pulse currently, or is it just called Pulse?
Yeah, go to Qualtrics.com and then here to help, or just, look at my social, you'll see it on there, and it's free. There's no strings attached. It's just literally free. You can go in, and it works. It just works. And you should be using this constantly, because we're in such a fluid situation that every day feels like a week.
Yeah.
So it's really important to understand how to help. And what I'm finding is everyone wants to help, but we only have so many plays we can make and so much time. What if we could have the data to get it all right and make sure every play we run is correct, and it's available?
That's incredible. So I know you said like Utah numbers are looking better than in other places, and that's absolutely true. But what are the long-term, medium-term effects you think we're going to see here in the state of Utah, particularly in the Silicon Slopes community?
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to go there.
Right.
I'll just be honest, but watching the restaurants, watching what's happening with friends and companies, dentist offices are shut down, trying to make payroll. If you start looking at the impact, this is real. It's like nothing we've gone through. And trust me, I mean, we operated very successfully as a company, growing through 2007, 8, and 9. But this is different. Back then, we could all kind of bound together and say, hey, we're going to go defy Wall Street and go. This is disrupting us from within and actually changing everything. And we've just never seen anything like a complete shutdown. I mean, Vegas, you heard from Steve Starks. This is real. And I don't think the world will ever be the same after this. But unemployment, I think there's already 2.5 million people plus who have applied for unemployment. That is going to grow exponentially at a rate that I've never seen in my lifetime. And we just need to be thoughtful, and we need to be willing to help. And if you are in a position or a job that is safe, just be very, very grateful, because you're in a role to help. And I think it's about coming together and helping the communities that we live and serve, like one of the mottos of Silicon Slopes.
Yeah, and speaking of that, and speaking about rallying together, coming together, serving, we launched, as being a founder of Silicon Slopes, slopeserves.com, where we're launching this campaign. We've raised a decent amount of money. I know that you're helping, and maybe you want to talk about that here. But how should Silicon Slopes be helping? Where should we be directing our efforts? Both the organization, who actually would be interesting for you to tell the people listening, both how you're advising us internally, how the organization should respond, and then the community at large.
Yeah, I think we're doing a great job. I'll be honest with you. I don't think we know entirely where the government's going to play, and so it's a little bit fluid. But I don't think that we should put off willing to help. As I told you, Clint, my wife and I are willing to give, and we're going to give $1 million in conjunction with Silicon Slope Serves for the community here to figure out how and where to help. I mean, the way I look at it is it's probably going to go through education. It's going to go through buying local for sure. And then I think that we're going to need to help a lot of people. And I don't think that we're quite there yet on who and where, but we made that commitment. Obviously, not everyone can do that, but people can help in their own way, and we're starting to see that. It's inspiring. It feels like everyone's got their Eagle Scout project that they're working on, and I want to support them all and help wherever we can, but also doing it in the safest way while we're all confined. So this is why Silicon Slopes. I don't think any of us imagined that you're kind of this, and we've created this platform between all of us that can really help while we're isolated. So we're all in. We're all in to help. We're all in to help the community as much as we can. But to be able to say this is exactly what we need to do for the biggest impact, I mean, just the testing alone and the fluidity in the government, you've got Mitt and others on today. We don't know where they're going to land on bailouts and loans. And, we want to watch that a little bit and then see where we can play on top of that on areas that they can't play. I also think, it's unrealistic to look at the government and say, okay, this government's going to solve all of our economic issues, our food issues, as well as our healthcare issues. No, it's not realistic. Like, we need to, solve some of these things on our own. And that's probably not who I would call first if I had to solve a lot of these issues anyways. So we've got a lot of teams. We're trying to help as much as we can within the Qualtrics community, assuring them that their jobs are safe, and they should be out helping as well. And so I'm truly inspired, but we haven't seen the worst of this, I think, and we've got to keep Utah safe so that we can help act and serve others. I think my thoughts and heart goes out to a lot of people who aren't in the same spot we are, or aren't set up, or are spending 30 days in a single 1-bedroom studio in downtown San Francisco right now, which a lot of my colleagues are. It's pretty gnarly.
Well, one, I want to thank you and Ash for that commitment. That's absolutely incredible, Ryan, to put together $1 million in conjunction with the Slope Serves efforts. I think we're at around 1.3, 1.4 right now with your donation and working in conjunction with slopeserves.com. For those who want to get involved, engaged, volunteer, help, donate, whatever you can do, go to slopeserves.com. It's making a huge difference. And I think, Ryan, the unique thing about Silicon Slopes and the unique thing about Slope Serves is just how nimble we can be, right? And our ability to attack things just directly without a lot of bureaucracy, right? And like you said, though, is we do need to be very careful about where we point, that cannon. And when we start firing, because it does seem like it's changing. I mean, 48 hours ago, it was all about testing. You know what I mean? We got to get more testing. And then we've had, a number of people on these town halls that we're doing, and we're doing another town hall at 4 p.m. that you're going to be on, and Mitt and, a bunch of others will be on to talk about more broadly how we tackle this as a community. But it doesn't seem like that is, now we're talking about, medicine. We were on a press conference today with President Adams president of the Utah State Senate. And it was all about, all right, well, now we may have some medicine that could, drastically help some people here. And so I think because it's evolving so quickly, Silicon Slopes, the role that we can play here is being nimble and directing our focus and arrows in areas where like government and other nonprofits, aren't focusing, which I think is what makes Utah so great.
Yeah, and we need to keep that up, and we just need to make sure that we're making the biggest impact we can. There's going to be so many different areas to serve and to help. I think, and that's on our state level. If you look at our global or our national level, and what our federal government is worried about, and I'm pretty close to a lot of the CEOs who are in the roundtables with the presidents and others, and supply chain is a big concern, and how we can help with production, whether it's ventilators, whether it's making sure that we can continue to produce, because all of these impacts are having effective, I would say, upstream effects for the supply chain. And that's just not, saying the global problem that we're having with being able to manufacture things, but it's just getting the basics. And so that's a massive concern, because I saw something that we're, an 85% chance of going into a recession. I don't know how we avoid some of that, but I think that once again, we've just got to make sure that we stay safe, we get in and out of this as fast as humanly possible, so that we can move on. And the longer people don't take it seriously, right or wrong, just there's no upside, and just not kind of adhering to what everyone's saying, simply because of the fact that we can get in and out of this much quicker. And
right.
We don't want to prolong this, because all it's going to do is hurt our people. And what you're finding is people are the thread, the base of our companies, of our culture, of our society. And we just need to protect our folks.
You mentioned this a little bit. I want you to go a little bit deeper, if you could, around like how this is affecting people, this isolation, not being around coworkers, and, not being able to go about their normal daily lives and routines, right? And the effect that that's going to have on people's mental health. How are you thinking about that as the CEO of Qualtrics, in charge of, thousands of people and globally with SAP? How are you thinking about, how to help from a healthcare perspective and from a mental health perspective, both your employees, and what advice would you have for other CEOs and leaders of organizations?
Yeah, I think one of the things we're seeing is just the stress level, because it's not just people are isolated, they're under massive stress. And that's come out in the data. It's something that I wouldn't have realized as much as I do now. And part of the problem is people can handle change, like the working from home change. I think it's manageable. I think people don't do well with uncertainty. And you've got uncertainty with every aspect: health, your family members, your kids, or your, whatever situation you're in, your partner, or just yourself, your job, schooling. This is real. And so the stress side of this will creep up on people if we're not absolutely careful. And so I just want to identify that, because what that turns into is mental health issues, which we're already struggling with. People being connected all day, and it's just a fire hose of what seems like bad news, right? Turn off freaking social media. I mean, all those issues that we were seeing isolated are all coming together in one swoop. And so, I'm thinking through this. We have this guy who comes on during our summit called Dr. Dance, and he gets on and does this massive dance. And as while you're saying this, it's like, okay, we're going to bring him on an all hands with Zoom and just get people dancing, right? Or, I've been going on walks. And fortunately in Utah, we have space. We're able to do these things. And if you look at what's going on in Italy, where someone's running calisthenics in the morning, to all of the apartment complexes, then you start to really see the impact of this. So we just need to be thoughtful. We need to be switching up our routines, how we work, what we do, our schedules, and really be thinking about stress and as employers being very, very clear, or people leaders, no matter where you are, be clear with your teams on expectations and then help them plan. Take it easy on the internal meetings. I mean, everyone is getting hammered internally because they want that social side. And I don't know that that's best, right? Try to stay focused externally as much as possible, because that will take a lot of pressure off of people. But at the same time, we're watching a lot of people be productive, right? And actually get a lot done. I know I am. I haven't sat down at a desk like this for a couple of days in probably 10 years. Like, honestly, I forgot what it's like. I've got Post-it notes everywhere. Like, I love it. I'm an individual contributor again. And I'm finding so much joy in that piece of it. However, everything else, I get the stress because of the uncertainty. And, it became real. I was at a drive-through and I saw my mother-in-law who's older, and I was with two of my children, and we can't see her right now because of her age and respiratory. And we talk through the windows of cars, kind of like police officers do.
Right.
And she just got teary, and I was just like, this stuff's real. This stuff's real. So it is what it is, man.
Well, thanks, brother. Again, can't thank you and Ash enough for, putting $1 million towards this thing. For those watching, go to slopesurge.com to figure out how you can help. As Ryan mentioned, we're doing a town hall with leaders like Mitt Romney. We're bringing in Senator Mike Lee. So we're bringing in some local officials. We're bringing Mark Newman back, who I know you and I have been talking with, sure, Ryan, and a bunch of other people. The agenda has been published a variety of different places. That's today at 4 p.m. Love you, brother. Stay safe.
Hey, thanks for doing what you're doing. Like, we all owe you and your team a lot. Like, it's actually something that people are holding up. I've heard so many people say it's just great to talk and see that everyone else is in the same situation we are. So keep up the good work, man.
Well, when this is all over and we're through the recession and COVID-19, let's bring the Sonics back to Seattle, my friend.
I love it. We'll talk about that.
Okay, thanks, brother.
Right,
See ya.
See ya.